Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ariel and I make videos about books. So I just posted a best romance read bracket tournament thing of the year, and now I am back with a best thriller slash horror read of the year. We're gonna run through this. I'm gonna try to make it faster than the romance book. I kind of described each book a bit in that, and we're gonna do less of that here for my editing sake and for your watching sake. I don't think you actually want to watch 40 minutes of me talk. Let's get into it. No need for a long introduction. So these are the first competitors. Like the romance books, I have more options down here, so we'll have to do a second round, but this is the first round of 20 thriller books. First up, oh wait, no, never mind. I included this in the romance one, so I'm not gonna include it here. I didn't know what to classify this because it's like kind of romance but also thriller, but we're gonna replace that with this one, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle and Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. And I'm surprised that this was on the list. I thought I read this like years ago, but I guess I read it this year. This book I originally DNF'd because I don't know, I wasn't vibing with it, but then I picked it back up and I'm so glad I did because it was amazing, incredible. I love her writing so much. This one, it felt like an Agatha Christie novel, which was cool, but I'm gonna have to say Dark Places. It was just so good. Then I have two Lucinda Berry books. I read a bunch of her books this year, so these are not the only two. This is The Perfect Child, which was the first one that I read, and then The Secrets of Us, which was I think maybe the second, and this one follows like a crazy kid, and then this one follows these two sisters. They're like adopted sisters, and things happen. I'm gonna say this one because I was very upset with the ending of this. I don't want to say anything about it, but yeah, I was upset with the ending of that. Also, that one was based on a like true crime story, so I feel like it automatically loses points because it's like you didn't create that, you just reformatted a true crime story. I really liked both of these books. We have Reckless Girls and The Last Mrs. Parrish. I love Rachel Hawkins' writing, but I was really hooked by The Last Mrs. Parrish. And I liked The Wife Upstairs, that book, a lot better than Reckless Girls. I don't know if, yeah, that's on here. Both of these, I had problems with the ending, that it wasn't like very fulfilling to me, both of them. So they're like very similar for how much I liked them. I'm gonna say The Last Mrs. Parrish. I like remember more of it and enjoyed reading it more. Then another Lucinda Berry book, I have The Best of Friends and The Lifeguards, and I automatically am going to say The Lifeguards. I really didn't like this. It didn't even feel like a thriller, really. It was weird. This one, not like amazing, pretty like middle of the road, but I still enjoyed it. Also, this one kind of didn't feel like a thriller. It's more just like a suburban housewife drama kind of thing with thriller elements, but I enjoyed it. So I liked the writing. I want to read more by that author. Then, ooh, we're on to some Riley Sager. That was the author I was just consuming all of his works this year. I read almost everything he's written this year. I have like two things that I haven't read from him. So we have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, and then The Last House on Needless Street. Is that what it is? Yes. Riley Sager, easy. Like, it was very 3-star. Like, did not love it. I don't even own a physical copy, so that's how you know I didn't love it. Home Before Dark. Probably my least favorite of his, but his writing is just so, it just grips you. Like I have had no problem finishing any of his books. Then we have a tiny one, Comfort Me with Apples. This is like a tiny horror mystery dystopian kind of thing. And it's small. And then When She Returned by Lucinda Berry. This was one of the first ones that I read of her, and I loved it. It involves cults, and I love a cult thriller book. Yeah, the ending is kind of controversial, but I loved it so much. So yeah, this one's got to go up. This was fine, and the cover is very pretty, but When She Returned. Then I have the Paris. I am ripping these apart. Oop. The Paris Apartment and The Maid. This is another super easy one. The Paris Apartment was like one of my favorite books from this year. I just really liked the atmosphere of it, and I love a book that takes place in Paris because I am a basic girly and I love Paris. Also, when I was in Paris, then like multiple people asked me if I knew French and could translate for them, and I was like, no, I'm a dumb little American, but thank you for thinking I could pass as a French. And then The Maid just was bad. I need to get rid of this book because I did not like it. It was like after school specialty, you know what I mean? Then we have another Riley Sager. Oh, we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Lock Every Door. And okay, Lock Every Door is my favorite Riley Sager, and I really did like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but apparently not enough because I have not continued the series, and I need to. I feel like I forgot what happened in this book and might need to reread it, so that is what is stopping me from picking up the second one. This is probably not my favorite one anymore. My favorite one will be coming up later, but this is definitely my second favorite. Pretty predictable, like most of his books are. The man just writes so well that I can't ever put down his works. And this one just had the best like vibe, the best setting. It was with like a rich hotel with rich guests, and I love a story about the ultra wealthy getting killed. Then we have another Lucinda Berry book. I was not kidding. I was on a Kindle Unlimited Lucinda Berry kick. Under Her Care, and this is kind of like a what did it involve? It involved like a pageant girly, and oh wait, I'm gonna spoil it if I tell you because I'm only remembering the like spoilers for it, but very good, very shocking, very fun. This is a very good one. Why do I don't know why I have the Unhoneymooners on here. We're just, okay, that was weird. We're gonna replace that with The Wife Upstairs, and this is the one I was talking about earlier. That was a Rachel Hawkins book. That is my favorite one of hers. I've only read two, but the best of those two. And this is like a Jane Eyre kind of retelling, and I read this and then I read Jane Eyre, and it was a brilliant experience and I loved it. Very good thriller. So bye bye Under Her Care. No Exit and The Hunting Party. I read both of these in like January and really didn't like The Hunting Party. There were too many characters and there didn't need to be. Like they could have easily cut two and the story would have been fine, I felt. And yeah, I'm glad I continued to read Lucy Foley's writing after that. I read The Paris Apartment and I loved it, but The Hunting Party is not it. No Exit, I loved. I recently watched the movie and it was bad, but the book, very good. It was like the first isolated kind of thriller that I read, and now I love those. They're great. Is our first 10 winners, and let's continue. Between these two, obviously Dark Places. It was one of my favorites because it was written by Gillian Flynn. I still don't know how to say her name, but I love her work so much. Then The Last Mrs. Parrish and The Lifeguards, another easy one. I liked The Last Mrs. Parrish much more than this one, and this one wasn't even like a true thriller, I felt. So The Last Mrs. Parrish. Then we have Home Before Dark And When She Returned. I'm sorry, Riley, but this is probably my least favorite of his books, and this is probably my favorite of Lucinda Berry's, so we're gonna go with her. Then The Paris Apartment and Lock Every Door. This is difficult, okay, because these are two of my favorites from each author, but this is the second favorite of Riley Sager's, and I think I enjoyed this more, but I remember this more. I'm gonna pick The Paris Apartment. I like just the reading experience. I very much enjoy. Next we have The Wife Upstairs and No Exit, two really great ones. So this is hard, but I'm gonna say The Wife Upstairs. I feel like this kind of launched my thriller reads of this year and made me want to read more thriller. So those are the 5. We're gonna go through it. So The Last Mrs. Parrish and Dark Places. You guys have a guess? Yeah. Dark Places. Then When She Returned and The Paris Apartment. And I'm gonna say The Paris Apartment. I clearly liked this one because I'm deciding pretty fast for it. Then I'm just gonna move down The Wife Upstairs. Okay, we're just gonna look at all 3 of them because my chart thingy doesn't really work. So, I think I'm gonna have to say goodbye to Dark Places, just considering how much I loved these 2. I'm gonna put them both back on the board and let me like think it through, because I don't have 20 more, so I need some filler spaces anyways. So we're gonna put them against other people and see if like I can figure it out that way. So let me redo my board and I'll be back. All right, I have 14 left and we're gonna start over here. We have The Family Game, which I recently read in December and very much liked, but also was kind of cliche in a way that like I feel like I've read books like this before, but I did really enjoy it. Then we have The Turnout. That was super weird and I still don't know to this day what I read, what genre to classify it in, and it gave me the most unsettling feeling, but not like in a good way. So obviously I'm gonna pick this. I mainly picked this because the cover was, there it is. It was just cute. It has like the little ballerina ribbons and then I liked the little touch of green here. I'm such a cover buy person. Then I have Survive the Night, which is the first Riley Sager book that I read, and The Ballerinas. This was another one that was similar to The Turnout, where it was weird and I didn't know what I was reading. It was less like horror-y, I'd say, but Survive the Night was super predictable. I literally guessed like the major plot twist on the first chapter, but I just enjoyed the ride, which happens with a lot of Riley Sager's book where you guess kind of the main thing, but then you hang around because the writing is so good and there's still other stuff to uncover. So we're gonna pick Survive the Night. Ooh, then I have 2 bad ones. The Golden Couple, probably one of the worst thrillers that I read this year. It was just like, it felt like a first like attempt at a thriller, you know, like a debut author, but I don't think they're debut authors. And there were 2 people writing it and I was like, you couldn't have made a better twist than that. I'm so judgy for being someone who has never written a book on her own. And then we have All I Want, which I read in a day. I like never read a book in a day, but I read this in a day because I was so gripped. And then the ending is the worst ending in all of history. So I knew that going in, and that was why I read it, is because I heard that it had the worst ending ever and I wanted to know what that was. So I wasted 24 hours reading this. Not 24 hours, it didn't take me 24 hours to read a 300-page book. Don't worry. But yeah, I wasted a good day of reading on that. So that makes me angry, but I did read it in a day and it did have me gripped, so I'm gonna have to pick it over this one. Then here's here's the little sneaky ones. I put The Paris Apartment up against The House Across the Lake. This is the one I was talking about earlier. That is now my favorite Riley Sager book. This book was so funny, so weird, so interesting, so many twists and turns, and like the characters were so well fleshed out and it felt like a movie, and I just loved this book so much. So easy. Then another favorite from this year. So you see I put the ones that I knew I loved with these guys. So Goodbye with the Wife Upstairs, Daisy Darker. Okay, I have such a bad relationship with Alice Feeney. Rock, Paper, Scissors, I did not get the hype. I read it and I was like, that's a thriller, but I didn't really like the twists in it and the writing, and it just like did not, I don't know, keep me super engaged. And then I started this, and at the beginning I was like, because also her language is so flowery, where she'll end like every paragraph with like some cliche quote. Like she'll be explaining how the grandma is coming over with cookies, and then it'll be like, seize every day like it's your last at the end. Like, you know, like it'll have this weird cliche quote that she throws in, and I don't know why she does that. But this book, I rarely read a book and then automatically think I want to read this again, but that is what happened with this. And it still lives in my memory the way I felt. So good. I'm not even going to tell you what this is about because I think you need to go in it completely blind. That's what I did, and it was magical. Then we have Hyde and You're Invited, which I both did not like. I said that smiling as if I really liked these, but I did not. This was probably a 1 star. Too many characters for a 250 page book. It had like 20 main characters, 250 pages to learn about them. And just like overall the plot was weird and bad. Then You're Invited. I enjoyed it at first, but it quickly went off the rails and I didn't know where it was going, and I didn't think the author knew. But I liked the writing way more and the setting and everything, so picking You're Invited. Then we have the Camp Slaughter series. We have Camp Slaughter and Halloween Slaughter. This is the follow-up. Obviously the first one, this was definitely a case where the first one was better than the second, but the second I don't even want to say loved, because these terrify the heck out of me. I don't get scared about books, but I was scared to fall asleep when reading these. That's automatically an amazing thriller in my opinion. And there's a third one, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, Camp Slaughter. The first was definitely the best. Have our options. Family Game, Survive the Night. This is weird because this one was very predictable, but I still enjoyed it. And then this one was not very predictable, and I still enjoyed it. But weirdly, the ending, I was more twisted by the little things than I was for this. This felt a bit cliche at times, but also it had such an interesting premise. And this was also cliche though. Like, these are very similar, and they're both in that like neon writing. That's weird. But I think I'm gonna say The Family Game. It might just be because it's fresh on my mind, but I did like this. I haven't made it seem like I liked it, but I did. And it really kept me engaged throughout it. Okay, Easy. I literally complained so much about this, and I raved so much about this. Another easy one where I raved, hated. And then we're just moving Camp Slaughter down. Family Game, The House Across the Lake. Loved both of these, but this was just top tier. So The House Across the Lake it is. Slaughter and Daisy Darker. I loved both of these for different reasons. This one just like blew my mind away with the twists and just like the overall story. But this one was so spooky in a way that I had never read before, and yeah, I feel like this was like the first true horror book that I read, and I very, very much enjoyed it. But I'm gonna say Daisy Darker. So we are down to the final two, and I knew from when I put up the second board that it would be down to these two because I just felt so much reading these. Like, they're just so good. Like, it feels like a very cliche pick because these were very popular this year. These are very popular authors, but that's for a reason. They're so good. If you don't like Alice Feeney, I'd say still read this because I was not the biggest fan, and this is just insane. And then Riley Sager, this, I've actually heard some people say they didn't like this, and I don't know why. It is a bit less realistic than a typical thriller, I guess, but I really, really liked it. Okay, I made my decision. So I'm gonna say like the good and bad things real quick. Good things. Crazy twist. Wanted to read it again immediately after. Great character building. Cons, way too slow at the beginning. Like the first 50 to 100 pages, I was not in it. I was like, is this gonna be another rock, paper, scissors? That it just kind of lags and there's plot holes and the ending is not satisfying. But that did not happen. It was lovely and brilliant, but it did take me 50 pages to get into that. Then The House Across the Lake. Okay, good things. I loved the characters so much. Riley Sager has a way of writing that is like perfect for film. Like, I really envision what he writes about. So they definitely need to get to adapting his works like ASAP. And loved the characters, loved just the weirdness of it. It was so weird, but I loved that. And both of these were weird though, and it stuck with me. The character, the girl, is also pretty unreliable because she's like an alcoholic, and I love those characters. Like the girl on the train, like that's one of my favorite books, and so I love a unreliable narrator. Bad things, I can't think of any, so you know my answer is The House Across the Lake. Woo! This is the best thriller of 2022 that I read. I love it. I literally knew from the beginning of making this video that this would probably be it, but I liked seeing the process of, you know, what I felt about the other books. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you had a good time, and let me know if you read any of these thrillers and which ones you liked. If you want to get to any, have you read The House Across the Lake or Daisy Darker? If so, let me know and let's talk about it because I loved these so much. All right, thank you for watching and have a good rest of your day. Bye.